Good times.
Good morning.
I'm close.
I'm sorry.
Back that thing up.
So we did too much bullshitting before we came in here, and I didn't do any camera angle. That's my fault. Good morning, everyone. This is Youngstown.
I need a filter. Sorry.
Youngstown's Talk Channel. This is where we get to talk about things in the morning. Sometimes we hit local. Sometimes we hit national. Sometimes it's just bullshit about things.
Sometimes we just go off the rails.
We do.
In a crazy
I blame
town.
you for that most of the time. I endorse it, but I blame you for getting it started.
I'll take that. I'll accept that. Yeah.
All right. What do you want to talk about today? I got a couple of national topics, but I want to give you first crack at it.
Just a quick little thing. I realized I'm becoming increasingly more, I think, delusional about how I look as far as my age. Do you ever feel like you see people that are your age and you look at them and you're like, there's no way I look that old. There's no way. Does that ever happen to you?
Maybe. I don't know.
No?
I just don't look at the world that way.
I have seen people online, people I knew from school that like I will see, not just people I know, but even just people like influencers that say, oh, I'm now whatever age and they do whatever. And I'm just like, why do they look older than me? Do they actually? Or am I just living in this fantasy world where it's like, oh, I don't look that old when really I do. And it's really become this phenomenon. And I've actually been talking to some of my friends and they feel the same way. Like I've got a couple girlfriends from high school and another girlfriend that I know is a year older. And they all say the same thing. We'll like see a picture of somebody that we grew up with or somebody online that is our same age. And we're like, what? Do we look like that? Is that what we look like? Is that how old we look? And I'm gonna hold on to that delusion that no, it's not what I look like. I'm gonna pretend like I look younger than I am forever.
Okay.
Let me know if anyone else has experienced this. I know we're not the only ones.
Okay. Might be a phenomenon where people care about that and put high priority on aesthetics, that they start dealing with their mortality and impending doom and death.
It's just such a weird thing that it's like, and we're not saying it from like a catty standpoint or like a, we look better than you. It's just like I don't get it. Like, why? Is it because, like, you're around yourself more, and so you're used to seeing yourself age more slowly?
That is correctly. You don't see that person for a long time. So the last snapshot in your head was a different time. You're aging at the exact same times they are, but you get more frequent updates on what you look like than they look like. Yes.
And it is this like weird sense of like your impending death, maybe, or like, oh my God, we're aging. Like,
no,
that's it. Like we are the older people. We're the grown-ups.
Yeah.
When did that happen? I don't feel like
I don't like this topic. It's very foreign to me. I take no pleasure in it.
Me out.
Moving on.
Okay, well, let's do what you want to do.
Oh, thank you. This excites me. This makes me very happy.
No.
All right. So do you want to start with vaccines? Because BJ starts sweating when I say that word.
Oh my gosh.
Or do you want to start with Epstein? Both.
Ooh, let's go with Epstein.
Okay. So catching everybody up, it's been quite a few years of
By the way, Jerry was interested in my topic. He says, it's all in our minds. I tell people I look good for having 2 kids. LOL.
Kiss up.
He gets it. You get it, Jerry. Sorry.
Interrupted the new topic with the old topic, Jerry. Come on. Epstein. Years of lots of people, prominent, wealthy, connected people, assaulting underage girls for sexual gratification. And this group of people have, for the last couple decades, have been protected from the justice that is due to them. And, a lot of politicians ran on the fact that we're going to get to the bottom of this. And Joe all along has said that these are the people that are in control of the information. If you don't think that while they had access to the information, they made sure that they were protected, not only protected by it never seeing the light of day, but also the destruction of that information that would implicate them in anything that they had done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for the Department of Justice to actually take anything meaningful and make prosecutions were like a less than 0% chance. It was never going to happen. And then you consider that the fallout, like, did you know the government this is sort of like a mind exploding fact. They actually make risk assessments for telling the truth and what would happen on the negative side, right? If they were to do that. So if they said there are aliens, they have all of the consequences, social consequences for religion and government and the population. And so when they make those assessments, whether or not holding back the truth is actually a greater good than telling you the truth, then you can make the justification that if 1,000 people die if I tell you the truth and 100 people die because I lied to you, they can say that was a moral judgment and it was something that you would want me to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, my husband told me about an instance similar years ago, and I've shared the story before, but long story short, when he was overseas deployed one year, this was years ago, there was an incident overseas. Something happened. They ended up having to unalive some people, and it was in the newspapers. And he showed me the newspaper and the headline and the story written and everything, and then explained to me what actually happened. And I said, but that's not what they said. That's a totally different story. Why'd they print this? And he said, because someone along the line said, this is easier for the American public to swallow than what actually happened.
Correct. Right.
I'm like, that happens all the time. That's why I don't trust the news or think we know anything.
Okay, so the one thing that we got out of the Ghislaine Maxwell interview series, where they published the video of her being interrogated by some law enforcement, I don't know who he was, but he got to interview her for like 8 hours. And I read through most of the transcripts on this. It was 100 and some pages of back and forth. And the picture that was painted is when it started off, Jeffrey Epstein just really liked to hire people and get massages, right? Himself. He had an attraction to going out, finding someone who was working in a spa, hiring them to come to his house and getting massages. He's got like multiple massages per day. And then he started inviting his friends to get massages. So that when he was a financier, he actually played legitimate roles in the business landscape. The how he got there doesn't make as much sense as the fact that he was there, and the behaviors once he was there made kind of sense. A guy is loaded, and he's accumulating the abilities that you and I, don't partake in. Yeah. And so he started inviting people and giving them massages when they came to his house and them talking business. And you can see like an escalation and a ramp up to who gets invited to these things and what role it plays in his everyday deal. And so you can imagine, you can paint the picture that's not being filled in by the details of, these people, they come to my house, I give them drinks, I give them a massage, then they're very agreeable on what we talk about on the business side. Let's keep doing this and keep upping the ante. And as you keep inviting people with means that have, peculiar or, kind of, I don't know what to call it, those desires, right? You keep feeding them the things and you get a good result. And again, this is my imaginative picture that I'm painting of where it's likely to have gone from that point. And then so because it's an effective means of getting people on your side, then law enforcement gets word that this is happening and they start peeking into who's coming there and why they're coming there. And maybe no nefarious things were happening in that point. Maybe it was just a massage, a legitimate massage, almost like serving you drinks kind of a thing. And then they're like, hey, we can use this. If you're getting good business deals out of it, maybe we could bait people in and get blackmail leverage over. Let's try bringing in, someone who we've been wanting to nail and can't nail. Bring them in there, and instead, let's serve them some drugs and really get them. So that way we can leverage them with we have proof that you're using drugs at Jeffrey Epstein's place. Now we can nail you for the other things that we don't have proper evidence for. And it just keeps ramping up. And then international intelligence gets a hold of it, and they're like, we're going to up the ante even more. We're going to get them on something that will nail and coffin for them. We're going to go get young girls, right, and traffic those young girls with these people. And the law enforcement, again, is saying, all right, yeah, we're doing a bad, right, but we're getting these criminals. We're using these people as criminals in some, terrible, slanted, evil, demonic angle on this. The ends justify the means. And again, if just joining us, this is my imagination concocting what I think is likely to happen.
This is Joe's theory.
Yes.
Not anything he actually read.
So again, law enforcement, if it was a legitimate operation where they were getting people through a method that they were not going to be proud of or wasn't going to hit, they destroyed all of that evidence long ago. But the remaining people that can paint the picture of what they experienced when we were there were the 100 victims that went on Capitol Hill and met with the oversight committee and telling their story of what they experienced on this place. So they got the story. Now, this isn't proper evidence. It didn't go through a court of law. It didn't get proper investigations. It's their accounts of what happened. Now, as the public, now we're like, oh, well, the evidence is gone. We can't prosecute anybody. This is going to be all we have is these document dumps that we can look through and say, okay, well, this is just court proceedings and evidence that were in those court proceedings. We're interested. The whole public doesn't care about that evidence that put him in prison. The people who patronize that place is all we want to know. So you can do a 60,000 page document dump. And if it doesn't mean listing out the people who broke the law and assaulted these victims, you might as well not do any more document dumps because we don't care about that part.
Yeah.
We're not questioning the legitimacy of why he was imprisoned or how you tagged him with the felonies that ended him there or Ghislaine Maxwell. One thing only. Don't bother bringing out a binder if that binder doesn't have the people who broke the law, not on a plane, not had a conversation with, broke the freaking law.
Yeah, because I saw a video last night where this girl was talking about how, we're going to compile our own list and we're going to name names. And all these comments are like, you're in front of a mic right now. Start spewing. Just start saying them.
Though.
But then, you have this thing where it's like, well, then you could be sued for slander and then you could be sued for all these other
because
issues.
It has to go through proper channels. And if the proper channels are corrupt, I can see you're at a different blockade.
Yeah.
So Tom Massey said, give me the list, right? And then I'm going to present it on the House floor to representatives. Now, I can't be sued as a representative for saying this thing like you can, right? So this is sort of like an end around. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, that gets the names in front of you. Make sure that somebody rooted through this list and make sure that somebody wasn't like, hey, say this name while you're up there. And then it's going to go down and nobody can be sued. And then so anybody can throw any name into that pot.
Because unfortunately, even if somebody says a name, that's a lie. That is not somebody who actually was it, but maybe they had it out for him and I'm going to take him down too. Even if you legally get out of that, you're tarnished. Like any name that comes out of anyone's mouth is going to be tarnished, whether there's evidence or not, unfortunately.
So this is a part of me says, yes, Massey, read that names and, put your exclamation or your asterisk next to it and say, these are unverified, but these are what the victims are stating, people who patronize them. And at the same time, I'm like, how do you know it's even true? How do you know that somebody's not an axe to grind and says, this is a game ender for whoever comes out of my mouth, and they can't even challenge it because it didn't get rooted through court?
Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying the exact same thing. She was in that same press conference saying, I've told these women, give me the list, and I'll go on the floor right now and read them all off. And it was like, you have all these representatives now. They're like, give me the list. Give me the list. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I can't help but wonder. I hope that their intentions are pure. I can't help but wonder if they're like, ooh, I will be known as the representative that did this. Like they will have this attention and this power and this whatever. Part of me is like, I want justice for these victims, number one. And then number two, I don't want anyone else to benefit from this situation, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I trust politicians not to try to. And I mean, I guess it's a small price to pay if we get what we're after. I just really hope they're not trying to benefit from this.
If you have a process that at every level was corrupted and bastardized, and then you expect to have any kind of result that's meaningful at the end, where it enters, instead of being a law enforcement pursuit, that it's a political pursuit, it's game over. I mean, those legislators have in their hands the power to destroy anybody that they name, and you cannot undo it once it's said. And that's our undoing, no matter what we do from this point on. And this is sort of like the moral of the story is, when you start playing a corrupt game, this is the result. And I blame everybody along the way that didn't treat this like any other, case, and gave different treatment towards people because of the positions that they held.
Yeah. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, or whatever her name is, she was talking about how extensive and how big this is. And she was saying, not only is it maybe these people in high power positions, but she says one victim told her about an account where she was behind closed doors being assaulted, and there's a security guard blocking that room. So that security guard and everybody he worked with also part of that. Like, it's just layers upon layers of people associated who helped, who were there, who didn't say anything, so not just the high power abusers, but everybody else involved. It could be massive. And yeah, it's like, one, you're afraid to say anything in case they unalive you, which is a very real threat. And two, you say anything, but you don't follow the proper legal channels, and now they still walk, and you're on their shit list. It's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah. And that's why I blame anyone who broke protocol, right, and treated this with sort of like a different form of justice because of who would be implicated had they brought this. So the scenarios are that there was no high profile people. There was no Department of Justice. There was no legislators. There was no business moguls. There was nobody in there. And it was just a massage operation for his personal dealings, whatever he was dealing with. I don't believe that, but it's still a possibility. The middle one is that it was a CIA operation where they were holding leverage, and they used the machine of government to be able to leverage people and get what they want out of them for law enforcement purposes. Very dirty. I think it's higher likely that it's that one than the first one. And then you have the last one, that this was just a dirty personal operation where a bunch of rich people and their friends exploited as many people as they can just for their own gratification. That one is also likely. And really, it seems like the people are interested, are the only ones interested. Legislators want it to be political. Department of Justice want to cover their ass and make it not their fault. Nobody's really concerned about what it was, because it'd be really easy to paint that picture. Mm-hmm. They had, at least at one time, enough evidence to say which one of those profiles is it, and then who on the victim side is it provable. So if there were 100 people that were victimized, do you think with as many cameras and documentations, there are at least a couple of those that you can actually prove beyond a shadow of a doubt were victimized, and here's the evidence?
Probably.
You would think.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of that, if you had 19 years of having this evidence that was in the possession of the people who would be targeted for an investigation, and you actually had evidence. Do you know what a burn bag is, by the way? Have you ever heard of this?
I don't think so.
Okay, so evidence has a chain of command and a protocol. And that evidence is never supposed to break protocol. So when I go to the locker to pull out evidence, it's logged who looked at the evidence and whether or not it's returned. So if evidence goes missing, there's a protocol that's followed to see who touched it, who had access to it, who made changes to it. And so we have our perpetrator tagged. Mm-hmm. So every piece of evidence that came in through Epstein should have been marked, filed, and protected with protocol so that nobody was able to have access to it that shouldn't have had access to it. A burn bag is sort of things that need to be securely destroyed, either through shredding or burning and whatever. There were Epstein evidence in a burn bag. Now, number one, once something makes it the burn bag, somebody determines that this isn't proper to the case, but it's sensitive in nature. We don't need it anymore for court cases or as part of an investigation. It was collected. It holds no value, but it's still
So
not
personal information.
it has personal information. It needs to be destroyed. So they put it in burn bags and then it goes into a destruction system. Well, there's Epstein evidence in burn bags waiting to be destroyed. Now, number one, I would be, if I'm in that department, I want to say, okay, let's follow the chain of custody on this evidence, find out how it ended up in the burn bag. So here we have evidence X. It's labeled as evidence X. Roll it back. Who touched it last? Who put it in the burn bag? Now you start doing a internal affairs investigation to start getting the names of the people who were the protectors of that. Now, if it's like, oh, evidence was checked out and there is no name. Okay, well, let somebody get away with stealing and tampering with evidence, which there should be their own set of charges for people who didn't follow protocol. If we're not going to get victims justice and we're not going to get the perpetrators justice, at least get the corrupt people who made, because guess what? The person that put it in the burn bag is still operating somewhere. At least if they go to jail, an operative for the people who covered this up gets diminished and they have less capability. So who can go into evidence, make a destruction without it being marked? I mean, somebody's got to have hell to pay, right?
Yeah, but then they're going to say, oh, if I get in trouble for putting this in a burn bag, I'm going to sing your name and all the people who told me to put it in the burn bag.
But there's got to be a name. Somebody's got to be responsible for allowing the chain of command or that protocol, the chain of custody, to not be followed. And why? Okay, so if I get evidence for a drug case and I've got $1 million sitting on there, and this was taken from a drug cartel, it's part of evidence. It's going to be part of a case, right? Mm-hmm. How do we know that somebody's like, right? You want to assume that evidence is sort of sacred, and you're not going to get people that are just going to walk in and take some, $500,000 off of an evidence locker. You want to assume that law enforcement has evidence protected as one of the highest guarantees. Because if I can take a gun that was in part of a murder trial and it disappears, that's probably bad for a justice system that we treat evidence that way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody, even down to that level, everybody is protected. If anybody talks or names names or points fingers, things start to unravel, and they know that. Do you think the person who put things in the burn bags is even still around? What if they're like, I want you to bag this up, take this money, and never be heard from again?
Well, at least we know who was responsible. Even if they're not there, it makes us feel, because it's really about, do we trust government? Yes or no? Okay. And my list of what are the ramifications for telling the truth or not telling the truth. But now you have to take, if you do this and you continue the corrupt system without anybody going into jail, the mistrust in what justice is that bigger than just telling the truth and gutting the important people within the roles of government. Now the cost of not doing anything might elevate higher than telling the truth and just allowing, justice to wash things out. But here's my next prediction. This is a typical, you watch enough movies, right?
Yeah.
This is a typical Fall Guy situation. You need to just put somebody through the ringer enough to satisfy the hordes of torch and pitchfork people.
Yep.
And they'll feel like they got enough blood from what happened so that their gaze goes down. So they have to do something. It's either going to be Fall Guy scenario. It's going to be it's actually going to be floating the truth of what happened, or a wag the dog and a distraction in a different department makes us forget about it. You only have 3 choices here. And I do not think the real truth is ever going to come out. So it's either going to be Fall Guy, so wait for it, or wag the dog.
Oh, for sure. I think they're going to try to distract. I think they do already, and I think they're going to continue to. I think that's always going to be something happening. Is there going to be a Fall Guy? Maybe. It would have to be a pretty dang good one, I would think, to make people just forget about all this, but
not the majority. I can float a couple of things. Okay, so let's just say when they released the last binder, there were some names of people who I had to look up to see even who they were. Okay, so let's just say that person that nobody really knows, right, did partake in some of this stuff. So they take Jerry Smith, right? And they feed him to the wolves as the person who victimized. And the victims say, yep, he was there. Jerry Smith gets thrown into this, right? And he knows, and the victims know there were many, many more people. But the average people, if they see every couple weeks, take some of these no-namers and throw them into the chipper shredder this way, they're gonna be like, oh, look, they're doing something. And then you get beyond maybe 10 or 15 of those. And
you're probably like, this whole thing's probably a bunch of no-namers.
Exactly.
Maybe then it's not what we thought it was.
Then the temperature gets relieved down to a point where the pressures go down to release it. And now it goes back to status quo. And we feel like we've moved on from the Epstein thing. That is the most likely turnout.
Do you think, though, they have to silence the no-namers? Like, if the no-namers
are
like, I'm taking a fall, well, I'm bringing you all down with me.
They don't have the platform to be able to defend themselves because, number one, they were guilty, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they're throwing them in the chipper shredder and they just weren't even involved. They just pick somebody who affects nobody,
but
and it's enough red meat.
The media is going to go at that person and say, tell us your side, or was there anyone else that you can give us? Like, I think anybody, even if it's a no-namer, I think the media is going to jump on that. They're going to be like, you're a no-namer, but there's got to be big names in here and you can tell us more. And I think then they become someone.
I think it gets too convoluted at that. I think, honestly, I think the majority of people, when they get the strike of blood, right, they'll ask those questions, but because you get served up some fall guys, right, then you kind of stop paying attention to it and get back to the regularly scheduled programming because blood was served.
I mean, if you think about it, look how kind of jaded we are with even with this Minneapolis school shooting. To me, it was a big deal. I was talking about it with some friends and they're like, I didn't even know there was one. I've never heard of this guy. I didn't even know about this news story. And I was like, look how jaded we can get. That something so horrific can be like, we're used to that by now. It's not even on our daily radar. So it could be something like that.
Yeah, because we will move on if the one, like, we've served 0 names. Nobody got justice. If you start giving me 10 no-namers, everybody's the hype of getting a big name on this list. If they deliver you there, everybody like, okay, well, this is just a bunch of, business class people that, did some bad things and they went to jail, justice served, and then they move on to the next thing. I think that's how it's gonna die out.
It makes me kind of wonder other things too. Like, I saw a post recently and it showed that Robin Westman, whatever his name is, from the Minneapolis shooting, next to a picture of the kid that attempted to assassinate Trump. Don't even know his name. And their point was, we found out this entire guy from Minneapolis, his whole story, his motives, how it went down, where he lives, who his parents were, everything in like 15 minutes, the world knew. And we still don't know anything about the kid that went after Trump. Why is that? Don't you find that odd?
Well, no, I mean, from a political standpoint, I find it odd. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So that fuels all the conspiracy theories of if there's missing information and we reacted differently to it, this one's different than that one for sure.
Yeah.
But there's no ramifications there. It is literally go ask people, and do they even care about it? Even if it's odd, like, they don't care about it.
The only person taken out in that situation was him.
It's done.
Maybe it's because of the magnitude of it.
Right. It's probably got some tentacles in places that, it's not going to be a popular conversation to have. So it'll die just like the Epstein stuff.
It'll die. But how interesting that even though the situation, maybe it was worse with the Minneapolis shooting than with Trump. Obviously, no one in the Trump scenario died except for the shooter.
No, 2 people in the audience died.
Oh, that's right. Oh, sorry. Innocent people died. Why do we know nothing? We don't know. Now, someone might say the guy from Minneapolis posted a bunch of stuff, shared a bunch of stuff. There was a lot to be seen, and maybe there wasn't with the other guy. I don't know. But going after a presidential candidate and there's nothing? We know nothing about him? To me, that's like, That is such a red flag about how our government covers things up. So when we look at something like Epstein and the magnitude of that situation, I don't for a second believe anybody in a high power position will ever serve time.
Yep, I agree with you.
There's no
I
way.
think, but I think, okay, so let's talk about the Trump shooter. And so when they investigated it, they basically found that this dude had no profile whatsoever. Went to his apartment and it was basically an empty room. Okay. So when law enforcement gets to like a weird one like that, so you deal in probabilities at this point. Was he a probable, terrorist that curated his entire life just to have a story be a blank slate? It was unknown. Only 5 things were known about him for whatever, crafted by either a terrorist group or a CIA operation or something. Whoever put that together did not want, bought not being discovered anything about this guy and how they manufactured his background. Right. And then so when law enforcement gets up to a weird one like that, they probably kick it up the command structure. Right. And now they're like, hey, FBI, you need to look at this because our regular investigations aren't going to work here. We're working against orchestration. Kick it up to you. And then the FBI is like, oh, cool. And if it's the FBI, they're happy that it just got kicked up to the FBI because they're the ones who curated it and it will just go to die forever.
Yeah.
It's not like it'll be kicked down to the local law enforcement to get curious and to dig up more stuff. It went to a dead place by design. Where the other guy, I don't think that one was crafted by anyone. I think it was just some mentally ill person that wanted his story to be known and put proper backstory together so that we knew everything about him. They curated a complete backstory. So you just have opposing forces. One deal was no backstory was the point, and one who wanted to be known for what they were about to do. And that's the conflict you're seeing with the information that's available. Again, I don't know that it was an internal operation. I don't know that it was a terrorist group, or I don't know. And it's meant to be that way.
Yeah.
All right. Read some comments. Jerry says implication, I'm sure, are involving many politicians around the globe and can cause many deals to go south and ruin the negotiations needed to solve the problems of the country and other countries. It's not just U.S. people involved. So if Epstein was being used as an operative for foreign intelligence and they were getting dirt on a president of one of our enemies, a country of our enemies, and now we got leverage to get something done on the international stage using something, they wouldn't want that to go away, right?
Yeah,
but if you ask the American people, do we want young girls to be used as pawns in an international affairs game? I would say that bait is off limits. Like, don't go there.
Yeah. Like if they're like, hey, we've got some good blackmail on people and we don't want to use our hands. So.
But should those operations that are on a national security or something that has huge costs and consequences? So, for instance, let's just say there's a biker gang that is killing a bunch of people, like thousands of people. They're just with impunity killing a bunch of people. So I take a CIA operator or an FBI operative and I put them in the biker gang, right? So I can start getting dirt. I can prosecute. I know where these people are at. Is it okay for my operative to do biker gang stuff? Should that person be able to do drugs and rape people and kill people to be part of the gang, play the game so we can have an operation? So American people say, do the bad things that I'm requiring that person to do justify stopping the biker gang killing?
Yeah, it's our mole that we have. You ever seen The Departed?
Would you be willing to tolerate those bad behaviors and doing criminal things in the pursuit of taking down the biker gang, even if that person has to kill people, rape people, do drugs, do robberies to get them,
to get the bigger problem?
Yes. So if our CIA and our FBI is allowed to do things like that, like use young girls and allow them to be exploited to get bigger fish with our enemies or for national security.
Yeah, I mean, and that happens all the time. That's why we have witness protection program. People are planted as moles in terrorists or bad guy organizations. They act like them. They live among them, and then they bust them. And
So
It's a
I
thing.
just think one of those operations came close enough to light that we got to peek in how demonic our own government could be in the pursuit of something else. So I'm going to say maybe some of it is justified. Maybe the person that was setting this up wasn't thinking about the victims. They were thinking about the bigger crime or the bigger industry that they were about to squash. And they were like, even though they didn't like it, they were willing to tolerate it for the bigger fish. But us, we're not as tolerant. We think that, like I said, there are certain things that you don't play with. I would want my CIA or FBI operative in the biker gang to not do those things and fly under the radar and not participate in crimes, but giving them the blank check to be able to do criminal acts themselves to get their bigger fish. That is not a conflict that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, that would be tough. That would be tough to know how I feel about that.
Lauren says, I agree. Be transparent no matter who is on the list. The federal courts should release reports with victims' names redacted, allow victims to voluntarily come forward, but don't out the victims. And that's a lot of legislators are on that deal too. There's a lot of innocent people that, it's not fair to them that they're exposed against their will just because of the public's thirst for this information.
Yeah.
Make it 100% the perpetrators of these women is it, and make sure you validate it so that we don't get innocent people caught in this net because of our thirst for justice. We don't want a bunch of, harm to come of people that was unintended consequences.
Yeah. You could say, "Oh, I want justice for them," but maybe they're like, "Hey, you're just making it worse."
Yeah.
So be careful.
Yep.
Carter says, if the government can hide the facts of the JFK assassination and bringing down the Twin Towers, Epstein is easy for them.
Yeah, if this is just commonplace and they do this all the time and they are treated outside what the law would be, I think it's a harder game to play when all your people have to play by the rules, right? Because the rules sometimes limit what you can actually do. But that happens in a free society. There's always consequences for the noble thing. It's always going to be harder. But once you go down the I'm going to lie, cheat, and steal, right? You've become the bad guy. You are now the villain. Even if, your vigilante justice, you're breaking a lot of the rules for a good end, you've now become the villain. You have. And there's no two ways about it. We love our vigilantes.
Yeah.
Right? But when it comes this close to home, and, what if it was your daughter that the government used as a tool to get drug dealer in, Uruguay, and your daughter was allowed to be raped because to get that guy, when you're sitting in the room with that guy, the person who approved it, and are you going to be like, oh, you know what? My daughter's virginity was sacrificed and everything was sacrificed for it. But I appreciate what you did with that. Thank you for that.
Do we know where these victims all came from? Like, do we know if it was just women working maybe in certain industries and they took it too far?
Okay, so Jeffrey Epstein had troops of collectors. Okay, so in the first rounds, when he was just getting this thing started, he would send Ghislaine Maxwell out to salons, right? People who were making $30,000 a year, go out to a salon and say, hey, do you want to come here and do massages for these people? They tip really well and we'll pay you $60,000. And so
they were in that industry.
They were in that industry. And it was usually in the beginning of the testimony, it was all legitimate practice just for Jeffrey Epstein. And then collection came with younger people, as I'm assuming the clientele started making requests for younger and younger girls in different parts of the country. And I again, I don't know how much of the testimony that Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't just a complete horseshit fabrication to protect her own ass. She wasn't just spouting things to protect other people. But it seemed like there were at least threads of sincerity in some of that painted a little bit of the picture. Exactly. Yeah.
And then ultimately things lose their luster. It needs to be more and more risque.
The Britney Spears effect. So it started with gratification with massages, and it sort of like escalated how you'd expect it to, as more and more people with more depraved thirsts started and honestly, if Jeffrey's reason for it is that he got more agreeability with people who's doing business with, giving them what they were after. Oh, you want caviar served on tuna fine, I'll give you what you want if it means that we do get to do business together.
Yeah.
Very likely that's how it got started.
Jeez. I don't know.
All right. But anyway, so we'll see what happens in the halls of Congress, see if Tom Massey gets the oversight committee in front of all of the documentation and see what comes of that, and also reading the victims' name or the perpetrators, the list that the victims have given them, see if that happens too. So we'll pay close attention to this. Vaccines. All right. So
Let's tick some people off.
I know that even saying the word doesn't help us at all. And you know what? I don't give a shit, because if I'm allowing the censorship in technology to dictate what I talk about, F them. Like, I am really fed up with how people's free speech is being directed by exposure. So YouTube, Facebook, all of you who don't want me to talk about this, double middle finger salute to you 100%, because I'm not going to stop talking about it.
Yeah. And it's not just the internet and the algorithms and things that can control there, but people in real life. When I started doing this, people in my everyday life were like, oh, you better be careful what you talk about. You better be careful what you say. That's a touchy subject. That could get people mad. And it's like, that's how you get censorship. Yeah. That's how you get people blindly following things that could be harmful. Is nobody's allowed to just talk about something.
Right.
Nobody's allowed to have an open discussion and talk about ideas and maybe share things that they found or they wonder about. And it's like, all we're doing is perpetuating that censorship and that idea of like, ooh, you don't want to upset someone. Oh, you don't want to get canceled. You don't want to. And it's like, okay, so how bad does something have to get? How can we maybe avoid horrific things happening had we just not been afraid to openly discuss them?
That's right. And we're going to do it in a way that's objective. We don't have an end where I am not pro or against anything. I am data driven. So when we talk about this, we're trying to expose what we know, what we think, what our opinions are, what has been made public from all of these agencies. And it's up to us to make sense of it. So all of you, tech censors out there, this is not us taking an activist idea and trying to propagate it. This is us talking about what we know that exists out on the internet. And unless you can uniformly apply censorship in all departments, right? So if somebody's saying something untrue about abortion or vaccines or capital punishment or whatever, if you can uniformly apply it, then fine. I'm just in the category with everybody else who wants to talk about things that you don't want us to talk about. But if you can't do that, then it's got to be an exchange of ideas and nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So vaccines in Florida. So the CDC, NIH, huge changes, right? Lots of firings, lots of policy differences. And it makes people reasonably uncomfortable when they have been told that there is an agenda against science, right? If that is the narrative where there are people that want people to die and are authoritarian and are anti-science, then you would be uncomfortable if those people started doing things like, see, there's the evidence of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I am not quite yet on that bandwagon, but there's some real big dumbness in Florida right now. Big dumbness.
Big dumbness.
Did you see this?
I just saw that they ended
the worst person to put out on the podium. There was this dude who made the absolute worst presentation for what they're doing in Florida that could be imaginable. It was almost a caricature of everything that you would hope somebody wouldn't say to be credible to present this. Did that. And I winced and it was cringe for the entire time he was speaking. So that's first and foremost. So from the governor's office to the health administrations in Florida, they are removing the mandates for vaccinations.
All vaccinations.
All vaccinations. All.
Not just COVID.
All.
All.
What the F are they thinking? What the F are they thinking?
They're like, oh, but, this is going to make us look good somehow.
feeding the worst part. Like you have a group of reasonable people who are like, okay, well, maybe we got some things wrong. Maybe we're too heavy-handed on what we were giving kids. Maybe we're doing it in concentrations that were too much at the beginning of life. That's all reasonable stuff. There's nobody in America that believes that all vaccinations, right, of communicable diseases. So, for instance, like what I know about, which is very limited, that we'll use something like polio, something that we conquered, something that you don't see millions of people dying from on a regular basis, that still to this day we get vaccinations. So if you were to make the argument that let's dial it back on polio, because you have herd immunity, you have generational antibodies that are handed down from mother to child. When we test people and find out that there's a great immunity, maybe we can dial back the boosting that we get because we've got a lot of it that's naturally happening. And if we start seeing something like, polio coming back or whatever, maybe we'll start adding it back in there, but we'll make it so that we're responding to what's happening in the deal. Especially if if we want to eliminate some vaccines because we feel like we're giving too much too soon in high concentrations, which ones can we skip a little bit? Like instead of every year, make it every 2 years. Maybe instead of the beginning of life, doing it middle part of life. Hepatitis B, we could definitely move down the road so that we don't have to do it in concentrations when someone's born. All of that stuff is reasonable. But to say kids going into schools should have no required mandatory vaccines is the most insane thing that I've ever heard.
Yeah. To me, what's so frustrating about this is I almost want to scream like, you're not listening. You're not listening when people bring up the topic of vaccines, when people say anything about distrusting certain vaccines, when they talk about wanting to see more data. We have been thrown or trained to live in this polarizing society where you're this or you're this.
Yes.
You pick one. When that's not the case, that somebody could say, I don't care for this one. I'd like to see more data on this one. I want to see how these two react. And if you say any of that, if you question anything, you are thrust in that you hate all vaccines category. And it's so annoying to be like, if I question one, if I question the COVID vaccine, I am now considered anti-vax in any and all forms. That is so infuriating because I want to be like, you're not listening to me. You're not listening to what I'm saying. And I said they did this to RFK because he questioned some of them and didn't like some of them. He's anti-vax. He's dangerous. He's hurting people. He thinks they should do away with vaccines. You didn't listen to what he said. And this is a perfect example of you're not listening. You think everything has to be all or nothing. And you're just going to go with whatever political side you think will benefit you.
But the response to it was equally as imbecilic. Imbecilic. That was the word of choice. It was the worst. If you wanted to give all those people the anti-science vibe, right, take something as unreasonable as making all of them without reason and rationale other than it's your body. You should get to decide what goes into it trope. Like, it should be a little more governed than that.
Yeah. I hate to open up this can of worms,
yeah, go for
but
it.
Like what's the political party leader in Florida? Is that a Democratic
state?
No,
it's a Republican state.
It is Republican.
Big Republican state.
Because I was just going to say, that's so interesting that I feel like usually it's a little more left-leaning people that would cry, it's my body and my choice, but they actually happen to also be the ones that say we need all the vaccines and all the boosters and everything. So I was going to find that interesting if that was the case. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. So now is it up to the people, like the general public, like to do it and
to decide.
Say,
yeah, it's not banned. It's just not a requirement. It's not a get into the hospital and this is the checklist of 30 things that the doctor has to immunize right away.
Yeah. Like you can't go into school. You can't get into a university. You can't whatever without your medical record showing you've had this. You just go and hope they do. Do you think other states are going to follow?
No, this was so dumb. This is honestly, there's going to be more pushback with Republicans against this because this is the dumbest thing that could have. You're going to have those people who are just like thumb in the eye. Democrats are going to hate this kind of people, but that's not what science is not about. Getting, vindictive and going after your enemy. I mean, I guess in today's political climate, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
But somebody with a brain is going to say, hold up, let's. It's almost like a negotiating tactic. You take the absurd and then you work your way back from that. There's going to be someone that has some sanity that says these are the ones that don't have a, like the hepatitis B is a good example of one that if you undo it and not make that part of the requirements, there's almost zero fallout because that doesn't come into play until further down in life. So you get rid of that one. There's nothing that's going to happen there's no repercussions from that one. Right. Yeah. But if you take mumps out of it, and then you get mumps breakout in Florida. What do you think that's going to do politically? Anything you wanted to do beyond that point is dead because you did the dumbest thing in the world and took something that could play out a certain way to make everything you do look stupid.
Because then, of course, in our all or nothing mindset, someone gets the mumps and they're going to see, we should have the COVID vaccine. Well, we should have this vaccine.
All of these things we vaccinated about still have a couple hundred or thousand in the country per year that happens. So you don't think your critics are going to be camped out in Florida waiting for the first regular natural occurring mumps that happen in spite of the vaccines and say, look, this is the worst risk politically that they could have taken by just doing a hatchet job to it. It's not reasoned. I don't agree with it.
Laura says the most populated areas known for tourism. Smart. And Dorothy says, I question the COVID vaccine and still do.
And again, we're not going to relitigate the COVID vaccine because if you didn't do it in the last 3 years, there's nothing new that could be said about it. The people who, and I have a lot of respect for the people sort of like in the middle. Not the rebellious ones who are like, I'm not doing vaccine because it's, my salt crystal told me to. I'm talking the people who methodically gathered information and made a decision what they felt like they knew what the risks were, they knew what the rewards were, and made an informed decision. I respect those people because they're going to be willing to pay the consequences if they were wrong because they know what risk they were taking. Yeah. And the other side of it, I don't have any respect for whatever the government tells me to do. I'm going to plop into my arm and I'm not going to think about it. And if you question it, it's too sacred and religious in nature to be questioned, shut up and stop talking about it. Don't have respect for that either.
Yeah. And I even feel like I was one of those people where in the time I felt as though with the information I had, I chose to get the vaccine. I did it, but I stopped there. A lot of people I knew then kept getting the boosters and they got a regular booster and they got all these other things. But after I did the vaccine, I said, now let me wait and see what happens. And the moment I started hearing about complications and people having issues with it and people getting hurt from it, I was like, well, now I'm going to hold up. I'm not going to get a booster. I don't want to do this anymore. Let me just wait. And again, had it come in of people are thriving on this and it has really helped and it has whatever, then I'd be like, all right, then maybe I'll consider a booster. But I was like, all right, I have enough. I'll make this decision. Now I'm going to wait. Oh yeah, I don't like how this is working out. I'm out. I'm not doing any more. But I think some people, they sort of just ran with like what you should do. Like, you're a bad person if you don't do it. That's what I love is not only do we say it's all or nothing, but it's like, oh, it's right and wrong. As in, don't you want to keep people safe? You must be terrible. You must be a conspiracy theorist if you question anything. And I think people started to get so sick of that narrative that they were going in the other direction, but maybe not to this magnitude.
Well, if you look at the math on it, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if you want to be like, pump everything into your body, it's going to go back to pump nothing into your body is the equal reaction to that. So if you don't want that, don't pull the pendulum so far back in one direction and you won't have to experience the other direction. Now, again, this is sheer stupidity, as much as stupidity as blindly, unquestioning the science and the motives of, the people that wanted that shot in your arm. But still, I just hope cooler heads will prevail. Sanity will end up winning this one. If Florida goes down with a 0 vaccination requirement for kids, I will think that there's going to be huge hell to pay for that.
Do you think we're sort of getting in the same mindset when it comes to things that are like GLP-1s?
Yes, SSRIs, GLP, Ozempic, like everything has a shot answer.
And
right?
It's like it's now becoming this sort of taboo hot button issue is GLP-1s, and how do you feel about them? And if you don't agree with the use of them, what are you, judgmental? What are you judging people that are helping themselves with it?
That is exactly, and really, if that was the motive on all of this, it's that when do you think the last shot I got? What do you think the last shot I got?
As far as like a vaccination, or like, I wonder if you ever had like a tetanus shot.
Yeah, I probably had a tetanus shot when I was.
I could see you doing a tetanus shot.
I would say the last needle in my arm I had, besides the heroin, was the blood drive. Okay, so that's what.
Are you kidding?
No.
Heroin?
No, I've never done heroin. Come on.
God.
I was making it.
I was like, you always tell me you're joking.
You took the.
Won't do GLP-1, but heroin.
But anyway, last needle I had in my arm was a blood drive. But before that, I think tetanus when I was 13 years old and got snagged on a nail was the last one I actually had.
Yeah.
And I don't take prescriptions. I have 0 prescriptions in my cabinet. I will not even really take an Advil unless I am dying and can't get anything. Because I have the belief that our body is producing naturally everything we need to take care of itself. So you don't have a headache because of a lack of Tylenol in your body or an Advil in your body. You're not supplementing, giving it what it needs to not have a headache. There's something you did wrong that caused the headache, and discover what you did wrong and you solve the headache naturally.
Yeah. This is so interesting. I literally watched this just last night on my phone. Got served an ad. It was this woman talking about GLP-1s and all the different name brands. There's Ozempic. There's all kinds of different things. And she says, obviously, this is kind of a hot button topic when it comes to weight loss, but it can be used for so many other things. And I'm watching this ad because, again, I let people talk and I don't know everything. And even though I've not seen it be good or healthy for some people, maybe for some it is. And she was talking about studies and information that they are finding with GLP-1 effects on things like inflammation, preventing heart attacks, things of that nature. And I'm like, okay. And the inflammation, I think, was a hot button topic for me because I have inflammation in my body and I see that on a regular basis. I'm sure a lot of other people do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, could I benefit from a GLP-1? For like half a second, I thought this. And then I started reading some comments and people are like, yeah, but what about the risks of like blindness and death and all this stuff? And then other people are like, well, there's always risks for everything. And, you know, this could save someone's life and this could blah, blah, blah. And she's talking about these real studies about how effective it is on lowering inflammation in the body. And I said, man, that really sounds like it's science-backed and this could be a good thing. And they're like, this is amazing breakthrough in medicine. So then I Googled, how do you naturally reduce inflammation in the body?
Did my picture come up, by the way?
Turns out it's pretty dang easy to do.
Really easy to do. And when we started talking health way back in the day, the first thing I said to you before you do anything else is figure out what you're doing to cause your body to be inflamed and stop doing all of that first and do it long enough for the body to calibrate.
It literally says, have a healthy diet of vegetables, omega fatty acids, fish, get exercise regularly. And I'm like, who'd have thought diet and exercise could help reduce your risk of inflammation and heart attacks and all these other things? And I began to feel so silly again, where I'm like, this is why we get into it over things like this. Is everyone's like, don't judge someone. They're using a drug and it's working for them and it's helping them. And maybe it is. But don't discredit the ability to do that naturally. And the person who maybe we shouldn't judge you if you choose that route to get yourself healthier, to change something in your body. Well, then don't think we're the bad people if we say, you know, you don't need that drug. You could just eat this. and don't eat this.
Well, and that's why I say I think that we should be harder on those people and shame them more. I think that's really what happened is you wanted people to be able to make bad choices that have bad outcomes, but they didn't want to feel the shame that came along with choosing bad. So we allow these people to concoct entire lives where they have almost doing everything wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And then never taking responsibility with the decisions that led them there. It wasn't a lack of information, because the moment you hear me say you don't have to take any medications, I'm going to have 20 people say, yeah, but, right? Yeah, but this and that. And
but I have a disorder. I have an issue.
Instead of a curiosity saying, can I get to a point where I don't put anything in my body that isn't as natural as I possibly can, right? That as healthy as I possibly can. Can I do that? Or without saying, no, I'm a victim of this and I can't do it, and give me a drug so I don't have to.
Yeah. I literally had somebody say to me one time, and this was in like a matter of weeks. I have this medical issue, was a woman, and it's a very common, it was like, what's it called? PCOS or whatever it is, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Because of this, and it is a real issue for women, and it causes a lot of problems. A lot of things become more difficult when you have it. But she was talking about, I can't lose weight because of this. My doctor told me you could diet all you want. You could eat nothing but tofu, whatever his example was. You're still not going to lose weight. You're not, because you have this problem. You cannot do it without medication. 2-3 weeks later, the same person is telling me, oh, have you noticed I've lost 10 pounds? Really? Well, that's great. How? Well, I got this new job and I'm on my feet all the time and I'm walking all the time. And I've dropped 10 pounds just by walking so much. And I'm like, thought you couldn't. Thought it was impossible. I thought it doesn't matter what you do or eat. You can't lose weight. And you just told me that all you did is get more steps in your day and you lost weight. So why don't we now couple that with healthier meals and then see what we do? But no, don't shame me. Don't shame me. Don't you dare say shame them. I better more. Start eating better. Yeah. Or maybe I could also throw some weights into this. No. It's that's about as good as it gets without meds.
The whole, I mean, I understand why the whole body positivity thing happened, because a bunch of emotional people who didn't want people to be sad about their circumstances, all they did was victimize them and teach them that their choices weren't causing what they were doing. You're not responsible for that, because that'll make you feel bad. It was terrible from a end game. Short term, less depression, less sadness, less probably suicides and all that kind of stuff. Long game is now you give like 100 more reasons. You kicked a problem down the road that was ultimately worse than what you were trying to avoid. So we're just effed up. Yeah, is really what we are.
And I've avoided talking about her because I like her, but she is in the public eye and she is actively engaging in this conversation. So I'm going to do it. You know who Meghan Trainor is?
Yeah.
So Meghan Trainor was part of that body positivity years ago.
Yeah.
Her biggest hit song was all about that bass. She made an entire song, an entire music video, an entire idea of, I am a thick girl. I got junk in the trunk. This is something to accept and appreciate and celebrate. And we all are different sizes and you can still be happy and love your body. And I was like, amen. Catchy song. You go, girl. Whatever. She has since lost a buttload of weight. She's very thin now.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun. Happy accident. And she has said, she has been very open publicly that she did it with GLP-1s. She even said something like, I don't know the exact quote, but it was like, oh, I got to the point where I'll try anything. I'll do anything you think that it takes to lose weight. I'll try any drug. Yes, I'm on medication for this. And people started feeling a little off about that. Like, hey, where's the girl that was like, oh, I'm happy being this way and we should accept ourselves. And now that same girl is saying, do anything you can to be skinny, including drugs. And she's been kind of firing back like, look, I was in a real dark place when I was heavy. I was very unhappy. I'm now happy. I am now in a place where I'm enjoying my life. I feel good. I love the way I look, and I'm not going to apologize for that. And to that, I would say nobody wants you to apologize for being in a better place and feeling good about yourself. I don't love the idea you pushed, though, of in order to get there, just start putting things into your body. Like, there was no, I feel like this could have been like hard work will get you there. Doing things in a healthy way will get you there. Let's work on our mental health with our physical health. Let's learn how to eat better. Let's learn how to be healthier. Let's learn about bone density and what working out can do for you. This could have gone a totally different direction in which she still ends up in a smaller body, perhaps, but a healthier one with a healthier way of promoting it. And I just don't love that it came across as pro, let's just use some meds, do whatever we have to get skinny. Like, all you did now, all you're doing is putting us right back in that 90s mindset of twig skinny, no matter what you do, don't eat, starve yourself, take meds, whatever. And it's like, oh, I don't like that. Sorry, Meghan Trainor fans. Still a fan of hers.
Now, do you agree, though, that if somebody needed to temporarily do something to overcome an obstacle that made it hard, and then the minute that they don't need it anymore, then get into the health thing? So, for instance, if I needed motivation and need to see some results, and the results is what was necessary to keep me going on, and I was like, I don't need the shot anymore.
So to use it in that aspect, I don't hate it so much.
Okay.
Like, I've known people that were like, I got so far gone. Exercising was painful. Like, it was very difficult to walk. It was very difficult to move. I was putting so much pressure on my joints that they were deteriorating faster. I needed some help. Okay. Got some help, lost some weight on this. Now I've continued this lifestyle of healthy habits. I'm off the drug and I'm maintaining through diet, exercise, lifestyle. I don't hate that as much.
All right, so let's use my Advil scenario. So let's just say I was like, you know what? I'm winded going up the steps. I really need to get healthier. And so I start working out and I get just sore muscles, right? And so I'm like, man, my muscles are sore, so I'm not going to want to work out anymore. So I take a couple Advil, I dulls the pain a little bit, and I'm able to work out. When I get to the end where I got to the point where I was healthy again, was it the Advil that made me healthy? Or did the Advil just give me a bump through an obstacle that got me to the place where I can continue on doing it? I'm not going to go and credit and say, oh, how'd you get healthy, Joe? The Advil. The Advil got me there.
Yeah, no, it was a way to sort of keep you going. But your work is what did it.
Exactly. So framing it and using medications and chemicals not as a dependency, and it doesn't get credit. You did the work. It just was an aid to what's happening.
Yeah. And I've taken pain medication for situations, whatever was going on in my body was like, I can't even think right now until I silence this pain. Like, I can't function. I have got to quell this immediately. Took something, numbed the pain a bit, and was like, all right, now let's go get some imaging. Let's go figure out what's wrong. Let's go ahead and treat this now that I can freaking breathe and think. So I would never say never take meds, never take pharmaceuticals, never do anything anytime. There is a time and a place for these things. But when it becomes your only method of solving whatever your problem is, that shouldn't be its intended use, and it shouldn't be what you do, and it should be temporary. It's not like I'm cured, I'll never be big again because I have this drug.
Yeah, and that's the relationship that we have with chemicals, because we're trusting doctors, and doctors are bought by pharmaceuticals, and they're just pimping out those deals, and they convince you that whatever it is, the magic elixir will take care of it. So let's take Ozempic, and let's look at the statistics, and we're going to calculate how many millions of people die because of obesity every year. Let's just say it's 1 million people that die of obesity for a year. Mm-hmm. So the CDC says, well, you know what? We can save a lot of lives if we make it a requirement that everyone takes Ozempic. When you're born, you start taking Ozempic. And we make it so that you get an Ozempic booster every 6 months. And then we reshape the bodies of everybody in America. Ozempic likes it because they have like a requirement to take their drugs. The health is improved and less people die because they put it. Why does that seem absurd in one case and it seems very familiar in another case?
I think side effects and things need to be considered.
Like? Does Advil have side effects?
Yes. You wouldn't want to endlessly take NSAIDs. You're going to destroy your liver.
Okay.
If you endlessly take medications like GLP-1, you could ruin your muscle mass, bone loss. Some people have said vision impairments.
Everything has a side effect. So that's why if we're using this as a mandatory, this is the solution of our problem, we have to deal with the consequences of the symptoms that come from the byproduct of taking any chemical that we put in our body. If we use it as a mechanism for that obstacle, we have a much less, fewer people that are exposing themselves to the risk of the chemical, right? But it was worth it because the risk of not taking the chemical meant that they were going to stay in the capacity of what they were, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have somebody that's 500 pounds and they're probably going to die of some kind of heart failure if we let this continue, the risk of the symptoms of blindness, you're like, hey, dude, you're going to die of heart failure and be dead, or you might go blind. Which are you going to choose? You're going to be like, well, save me from the heart failure and give me the blindness every day of the week, right? Mm-hmm. But when you do a mass injection, every baby, every person gets 30 required immunizations. You are not sparsely picking the people that have the most risk. You're doing it to everyone. So everybody falls victim to whatever causes and symptoms of taking those all those things together.
Yeah. Like what could you see a future where it's like, well, all babies are now on GLP-1s because our food isn't that healthy. And as a culture, we don't eat great and they're probably going to become obese. So let's get them on that now.
The mechanisms to make that a possibility are already there. Yeah. It's just going to take the justifications and who you can pay to say that it's required and how many people you get on board. And I could say you get 5 people in this administration on board and Ozempic can be part of.
And the emotional appeal you put behind it. You judge me for being on a GLP-1, you're a bad person. You don't want to get boosters to protect your great-grandmother? What a bad person.
Foundation for that argument is already laid.
Yeah.
And that's the danger in, individuals, as long as if you make stupid decisions, like you're like, hey, I don't want to do any vaccinations, right? So long that you don't affect any other person and you make sure that you're protected and you protect other people from your decisions, nobody has a problem with it. If I go live on the farm, I don't want to be around any other people and I'm not getting any vaccinations because I don't want to run into you at all. You have hedged your bets, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm like, I want to go to school and have all kind of relationships with people and I don't want to take any vaccinations and I want to cough all over your ass from it, I hope you got your vaccination because I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's infringing on the liberties of other people.
I even saw a video recently. This woman was talking about she was talking about getting a walk in or getting some sort of movement in within so many minutes of eating. In particular, certain movements of like your legs. Like one of them was like kind of sitting and like doing this, like activating your thigh muscles and things. And she had this whole breakdown about what this secretes from your muscles, how it involves or how it affects insulin and glucose. And you can avoid like glucose spikes after meals and all these different things. And as she's explaining this, she's like, oh, because then your body produces this chemical and it's called GLP-1 and it makes it when you do this. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? We make what?
What did I tell you yesterday?
We make GLP-1.
What did I tell you yesterday? We walking chemistry set. We can produce everything our body needs with the right additives, right?
Yeah.
Food, we can bring all of that out in our body. Don't create a dependence on artificial. Make it yourself and get used to. And that's where this whole complaint session started with if the Make America Healthy Again, which I don't think really has a chance of working large scale. Small scale, yes. Large scale, no. We're not going to make everybody healthy. You got mass rejection of that's the key to my problems. and we have it politicization. So we don't even people have on board, even if they agree with it, they're not going to agree with it.
Yeah.
Because it's you.
I have a Maha hat, Make America Healthy Again, because I want people to be like, oh yeah, let's go for a walk. Let's make better food choices. Let's get our weights in. Let's increase our protein. Let's whatever. But sometimes I can't wear it because I'm like, all people are going to do is be like, oh, what are you, a Trumpster? Oh, what are you, not for this or that? And I'm just like, oh my God, it's not a political statement.
Mm-hmm.
It's an idea that I support.
All right, let's move on from health. We got that out of our system. What else is going on? Let's bring it back to something happier.
What else is going on that's happy?
I ruined all of our happiness by bringing out those two topics.
Everyone's like, oh, well, we're all doomed. We're all doomed to be unhealthy forever. What are some happy stuff I've seen lately? And that's sad. That's sad. We're run by negative headlines, negative stories.
Well, I will tell you this, and this is just a passion of mine, business in general. Like there are full eras where I notice that entrepreneurship is a dirty word, and entrepreneurship is something that a generation is pursuing. I have so much hope with Gen Z and how their brains are gravitating to solving and engineering problems. Might not have the connections with the marketplace because anti-capitalism has skewered what they think is possible. They've been victimized by how the deck is stacked against them. But at least the spirit is emerging where people are talking to me at this, where I got this idea and I want to create this thing, and I want to, and it gives me hope that the socialists and the communists and the Marxists are going to get squashed by the generation that is really highly educated and completely capable of squashing that give me mentality.
You know what I think is also an obstacle they're going to face? Not just the give me mentality. I feel like there is a real stigma on people that identify as an entrepreneur or a thinker, an inventor. Have you ever heard someone say, oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, that means you're unemployed. Like you just want to work for yourself because you don't want a boss. You don't want to have to be held accountable for things or take direction. You think that, oh, if I just do this myself, then I'm the boss and I can do whatever I want. You don't actually understand the hard work it'll take to own a business or to do something of that magnitude. Like, I think a lot of them that have a true entrepreneur spirit and a desire to create something and solve problems, I think are going to very much get labeled as that.
Yeah, and I hope they do,
almost
because
like you're lazy.
When you break the status quo, like I do not believe in the market climate that we have right now. It needs to be broken. It needs to be wrecking ball. And I think Gen Z is going to push on the questioning why we do things a certain way, not necessarily in a lazy way, but maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, you trade 8 hours a day of your life every day for 50 years, right? Does that seem like a good trade? Seem like maybe you could do more?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And everybody does it and it's accepted. And it takes somebody saying, that's kind of stupid. You're investing a whole lot of your life. And at the end, you never really push beyond a barrier.
Yeah. I love this idea. I think we talked about it a long time ago. I love the idea of understanding what you're trying to accomplish, understanding what your service is, what you're doing, and making your work output make sense for that. Like, so many people, I think, get stuck in this mindset of, I need a job. It's a 9 to 5. And I'm sitting here regardless of if I'm doing anything or not. And then people get almost sort of, what's the word? Resentful. Like, oh, I've got to miss out on my kid's thing. Or I could be doing this, which I'm passionate about, but I can't because I just sit here from this time to this time. Whereas I like the mindset of like, make your time and the output of what you're trying to accomplish match. Like, don't just sit somewhere to sit there. Be doing something. Or if it benefits your cause more to not work at this time, instead work at this time, then do that. Like, and I get that what I'm thinking of is sometimes easier said than done for some people in certain positions and certain jobs. But to me, it's just like, if you can find something that you are passionate about, that you can build, that serves people, that creates something that solves a need, that is successful, your work should make sense. Your output should serve that. Am I making sense here?
Well, all right. Let me just sum it up in sort of my principle when it comes to this. So right now, it's about efficiency of time served, right? Mm-hmm. And so if the
that was a better way to state it.
Yeah.
I danced around efficiency of time served.
So it is, let's just say you have an 8-hour day today. So you think you have 8 boxes, each containing 1 hour. And you're going to use this inventory, and you're willing to trade 1 hour of you for something, right? Mm-hmm. And then every time you sell one of those hours, then you ask the person that's serving and the person that's being served, and make sure both of them got good value. All right. So the Elon Musk, tell me what you did today. I know what I paid you for today. Here's what you did today. Are you happy? Am I happy? And then if you're happy, like, I got enough for what I gave and I got enough for what I gave, then you sell another hour, right? Mm-hmm. But let's just say you haven't made good use of 1 hour, and then you just sell somebody 80 of them, right? Now you got problems because you wouldn't buy the first hour at all. So why would you buy in volume from something? So we sort of got this mass production of people's time. Nobody's concerned about the value that they're getting from those hours they're spending. With use of technology and AI in the future, you won't have to do that. You'll take the valuable things that you can do, and you will sell them to many different people, and you won't be paid for things where you didn't get good value. Almost like you go to the grocery store and didn't get the bread. You're not giving the money. Yeah. And if you didn't get the money, you're not getting the bread. And everybody will make sure that the compartments they're willing to sell the marketplace, that they got good value for what they sold, and they gave good value for what they were paid. And we just don't do that. We've bastardized it. So there's a bunch of people. Do you think, okay, so let's just take a government worker, right? Mm-hmm. They're making $200,000 a year. And you are able to just follow them around for a month and see what they did. Now, you as a taxpayer, who a portion of what you paid to pay them, do you think you would be critical of what they did and how the money was being spent, and if you got good value for what you paid for them to be there? Or do you think, like, holy shit, this person's doing like 1/10 of what everybody else in the marketplace is doing? How does that freaking happen?
Yeah. If I'm paying for it, I want to know I'm getting good
as
value.
A consumer, you understand the value proposition of when you trade of services. But we have an entire economy of people that have, we'll use teachers unions for example, during COVID. You paid teachers, right, to not teach. So when you audit the value proposition, it's great for the teachers, right? Yeah. But they didn't have to do anything. And so the value dropped on what was required of the value of the services they were rendered. So if we made it a 1-for-1 where AI was determining, you put a little wearable on your head, right? And the work that you did, you had a rate like you're in a taxi cab. And when you were giving good value, you were getting paid. And when you were not getting value, you weren't getting paid, right? Now, everybody would feel better because you never feel like you're being shafted by the government worker who did literally 1 minute of work per day. Well, they only get paid for 1 minute. Have a standard rate that everybody gets for production. And then people who work really hard, they make a lot of money. And people who don't work real hard, they don't make any money whatsoever. But that's sort of like the foundation of entrepreneurship. Do you think if an entrepreneur who was criticized for the first 2 years that they were doing, everybody's like, you want to be a rock star? You're not going to be a rock star. Look how hard it is. And they work 12-hour days and be paid nothing whatsoever, right? And then they did 10 years of just grinding, right? Making barely anything. And they get to a point that they make $200 million, right? When do you think the people with their hands out, right? When are they going to involve themselves into that trajectory? Do you think it's going to be like, oh, you're working a 12-hour day. Can I help you with anything? I really want to know what's going on here. But they're going to be like, you make $200 million. That's unfair.
Yeah. And I see it play out all the time. You know, I've worked with people that were like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. You know, work-life balance. I hate that phrase because I think it's manipulating something. Like, work-life balance. Should someone be able to still do things that is outside of their job in their life? Yes. But I think we've almost tainted it to sound like you're just being lazy. Like the people that, to me, that say, well, I need work-life balance. You just don't want to do anything extra. You don't want to go that extra mile. You don't want to lift a finger past what you have to. But then they will criticize others that did and got more. You know, like the whole like must be nice to have that, must be nice to have gotten that. Well, let's compare what I did to get it and what you did to not get it, and we'll see what's nice. You know, like there is this mindset that like I should just get something because I was there.
Yeah, that's why we've broken it, because we're selling volumes of people of time, and we're not getting good value for the time that's being spent. And work-life balance, as soon as people say that, this is what I picture. People are at work doing shit that they should be doing at home. So yes, you are breaking the veil of what, when you're at work, guess what you should be doing? Work stuff.
Yeah.
Anything that you should be doing at home shouldn't be done there. So let's balance that out and scrape the inefficiencies of trying to do home stuff at work.
Yeah.
Not as a popular thing to say. Jerry says, Joe, after some research, bourbon is related to drug like marijuana, cocaine, and LSD. Just saying. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Any additive chemical that you put in your body is creating a change. Anything, even food. When you take lettuce, if you don't think the chemical components make a change in your body, so everything you eat, you have to know what your body's doing with it. Yeah. So if you want to elicit a chemical response on something where you get fiber, you get proteins, you get minerals, you get vitamins, and then the chemical components that are a byproduct of that, we're eating chemicals naturally all the time.
We take caffeine like it's a drug.
Absolutely.
Oh, I've even started to notice, like, don't let me volunteer myself for anything when it is first thing in the morning and I'm on my first cup of coffee. I have noticed sometimes it affects me almost like alcohol. I get real motivated, real gung-ho. Let's go do this. And when it wears off, I'm like, I don't have time to do that. What the hell was I thinking? Did I just really get myself involved in something I don't want to do? I was high on caffeine. Don't listen to me. But it affects you. It changes things. And
you create it just like anything else. You create a dependence on it.
Yeah.
And then the reason you get lethargic, I can teach you some stuff that will make that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wake up earlier and do not start drinking caffeine until you've been awake for about 90 minutes. Okay. Let your body's beginning wake up procedure.
Minutes.
Do regular. There's some acids that build up in your muscles, right? There's some things that your body has to work through, and your brain will actually behave more naturally. Even if you use that's probably the best way to make best use of caffeine and let your body's natural things take effect. So go ahead.
Is this why I feel better? I've noticed I drink coffee every day, yet I feel better during the week than I do on the weekends. And I have noticed, like, during the week, if I'm going to work, I'll get up, I shower, I got to blow dry my hair, I got to do makeup. About that time, I'll start drinking my coffee as I'm doing other things, and I feel fine. Saturday morning, I get up, and before I do anything, I go get my coffee, and I just sit there, and then I get like tired and hot and shaky and sick and nauseous.
90 minutes is for me. 90 minutes is the magic time after I've woken up. So I get up at 4:00 in the morning. I won't have any coffee.
Don't do that.
Coffee until 5:30, right? And then every once in a while, when you feel like you're being drawn to caffeine, like you need it, you need to break it by going a couple weeks without it to prove to your brain that it still has the ability to produce those chemicals. So you want to, even if you're using it as a supplement, you got to let your body get to its natural state every once in a while.
I have noticed, I heard somewhere that there was a study done that says they found that the habit, your daily habit of going to get your coffee is actually waking you up more than the coffee itself. It's soothing, it's comforting, it's a habit. You think it's waking you up. All of doing that is what's helping you. It's not the actual coffee. And I kind of believe that for me. Like, I think there are mornings where, like, there's been times where maybe I was traveling, I was in a hotel or something, and I didn't have coffee access to me. I can still get ready and go and feel fine.
Yeah. So stop drinking coffee early in the day, maybe like, midday, no more coffee. Let your body get into that process. Sleep well without having a high caffeine intake, and then wake up and give it 90 minutes to deal with the bedtime chemicals.
90 minutes.
90 minutes
okay.
is it.
Did you see Ariana?
Ariana says, yeah, some of the entrepreneurs in my generation are OnlyFans models. Do you think it's a business pursuit, or do you think it's prostitution?
OnlyFans?
Yeah. Because prostitution is also entrepreneurs.
I was going to say prostitution kind of is also a business pursuit.
But it's not a respected profession.
Right.
So do you think that these girls that are using their assets to make money on it when they're young and desirable is a
I judge it more so not just the maybe morality of it. It feels like some people, and I don't know, I've never done it. I could be way off base here. It feels like it's the easy way out. If we're going to make assumptions like, oh, entrepreneurs, they're just unemployed people that don't want a boss, I would say OnlyFans models are people that don't want to work a 9-to-5, don't want to have a boss, want to do something that they could just quickly do. It's easy. Anybody can get naked and get some money. To me, it's just something that they do because of the lack of effort, maybe.
Okay.
It feels like it's taking the easy way out. Like, all I got to do is quell my morals, my self-respect. Don't care about any consequences that could come from this, and I'll make some money.
So you take a high school girl, just turned 18, and you're like, hey, I'll show you how to do this, and you'll make $20 million your first month. All you have to do is put yourself in front of total strangers, and they're going to pay you a bunch of money. If you take 100 girls and say that to, how many of them say, sign me up?
100 girls?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it does depend on what they have to do. But
no, the ones that would say all you have to do is sit in front of a camera and let people pay you for what I tell you to do, and you get $20 million. Do you think $20 million is going to be attractive enough to they're going to be like, I'll pretty much do anything for $20 million?
I bet you maybe half of them.
Half of them? 50 girls will go ahead and do it. Now, you said that there would be like a moral lapse. Like what is the standard for a moral lapse to consider something like that? Like where are we getting our morals from that somehow like religious morals or what secular morals?
Yeah, I think anybody that was sort of brought up to be taught, whether it was in church or just from their parents or anybody, that, you don't want to just be naked in front of strangers.
Why wouldn't you want to?
That's something that you, especially on the internet, won't go away. And some people will view that as unprofessional, disrespectful to yourself. If you want to get a job that is not that.
Well, you're using more of sort of like a traditional religious culture. We're not that. We don't have we don't have shame that goes along with being.
Well, yeah, I don't even know if it would be shame. I think it would just be logical reasoning of, hey, you should know that when you want another job that isn't this, other people are going to hold this against you.
If you take a majority, if 50% of the people have a history with OnlyFans, right?
Yeah.
And that's everybody. You're not going to be judged by being OnlyFans. Everybody's judged by OnlyFans.
If you're making 20 million, you're probably like not worried about getting another job.
So that's not a reason. the moral. So I can only see like one repercussion. All right. When you're young, you're not the same person as 10 years from now, right? And so you have taken what should be exclusivity, someone that you're partnered up with, that you want to have a marriage with, and making what you just gave to everybody for a price now is not valuable, because somebody's going to be like, well, everybody's seen this. Everybody's done this. Everybody had lust for you, and you're not special. So maybe the one repercussion that should matter is the person you choose in the future that you would want to be loyal and trustworthy and have integrity and support you in a relationship. You've just kind of taken yourself off of the checkbox. They're going to not choose you. You're going to be coupled with someone who's willing to tolerate the fact that you gave yourself to a bunch of people and be okay with that.
I think you also run the risk of tying your self-worth to your body. And when that starts to go downhill or change in any way, and you're not getting the same feedback, I think that can cause a lot of mental health problems. If you think
but
that
$20 million a month.
Maker.
Okay, so you're a running back in the NFL. You can go make $30 million a year, but you have a shelf life of 4 years. So you got to make all of your money within those 4 years. And you're like, oh, I just made $120 million. I never have to be a running back again. And then you go off, start restaurants and whatever, and you never have to think about running a ball on the field again.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something you don't tie that to, I think an NFL player can just as easily go downhill thinking, my youth is gone, my value is gone, I can't run a ball like I used to, I'm not who I used to be, I can't do what I used to do. And I think a lot of athletes, soldiers, people in general get that mindset. So I think OnlyFans is just another form of that, maybe, of you're tying a lot of your self-worth to this.
It would be tough, like, to meet somebody who has a relationship with somebody who does OnlyFans. And it would almost be like if we're guys and we're sitting around and so what's your girlfriend do for a living? Oh, she's a stripper, right? And be like, so you're okay with her, grinding on other guys and, flirting with them in exchange for money? Yeah, I'm cool with it. I trust her. I would love to watch those relationships as they go and see if there are truly people who can compartmentalize their emotional feelings, that person wasn't exclusive to you, whether or not it matters. Because eventually our culture will be like, well, that doesn't matter anymore. Then you have the breakdown of family, and then you don't have kids, and then you have a lot of sadness and depression, because people who would have had the ability to couple up with someone and create a meaningful marriage and life, now that's not really on the menu anymore. They're going to be a stripper for life because they've been tainted, unless they can figure out a way to hide the fact that they were a running back at one time and not let anybody know and pretend that they're a virgin.
And I think that we're still in an age that it does matter. I mean, I'm assuming, do people, when they're dating, ask each other, like, hey, how many people you've been with? Yeah.
Yeah. How body counts? Like, what's acceptable keeps going up. Like, if you've been with 1, 2, 3, we're not talking single digit people you've been with anymore. We're talking, if you've been less than 100, you're okay. And I'm thinking, you were with 98 people, 98 experiences like I'm going to have with you, 98 before me. Like, I don't know that I like that.
First of all, you're getting tested like 100%. But yeah, then the whole mental capacity of that. Like, I wonder, when I met my husband, my number was very low and his number was low. And I think I took comfort in that. I wonder how I would have felt if it was high. Because right before I met my husband, I don't even know if you'd call it dated. Maybe I was talking to a guy sort of casually, and his number was very high. And I was just like, oh, I just don't like that. It just doesn't sit well
what it does is it devalues the act. We've taken something that should be sacred, special, and have a very low number by design, and we transactionalized it and just used it so that there's not a pursuit to get something that is special. It's so common that, just like what sex robots are going to do for us, women are terrified of sex robots more than men are terrified of sex robots, because once what would be a reason for pursuit, biologically going after something, when it's easy to get from places that don't have any strings attached to them.
Yeah.
And you get that satisfied. Like, how many relationships would not have happened had the biological urges not inspired pursuit?
Yeah. I'm so grateful that I was never of that mindset when I was younger. Like I was, and I don't even know where this got ingrained in me, but I was that young person that was like, I'm not giving this away for free.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I may not require marriage to do it, but it's going to be meaningful. It's going to be long-term relationships. You're going to show me that I matter to you and you value me, that you're not just someone who sleeps around. Like I had so many girlfriends that are like, oh, it's just fun. And you hook up and it was whatever. And I'm not judging them if that worked for them and that was their way of thinking. Fine. I just never had that. And like, I remember getting called prude when I was younger and, oh, she's so prude. And I was like, you say that like it's a bad thing. And I just don't think it is. And I'm so glad I was like that.
Right. But OnlyFans is actually, I think in October or November, they are not permitting pornography.
I
anymore.
did hear that.
So a lot of these entrepreneurs, right, are going to have to change the thing that they sell.
What do they constitute as pornography?
I will look that up while you talk.
Yeah, because that's interesting. I mean, obviously there's like, is OnlyFans like, I'm assuming that can get like full-blown X-rated, I'm guessing. So like, what's the difference between
like nudity versus acts of sex kind of thing?
Like what's PG-13? What's R versus X? Look at that. University official fired for posting OnlyFans content with wife. Like there are repercussions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to look this up. We'll maybe talk about this the next time. But if they change protocol, then the red light district of, there's some people that their products can't be offered the way that they once were. But there's going to be another service called Only Porn, right? And then those same people will go over there.
I mean, it's just, all of the porn sites, they're probably going to be like, oh, yay, our customers will come back.
Right.
What's the difference? So I've never actually seen OnlyFans. What's the difference between, why would someone want to go to OnlyFans versus like any other pornographic site? Is there, because there's an interaction there?
I think so. I think that there's chat and you can do, okay, so I believe you pay a monthly subscription to whatever your favorite person is. And then during that month subscription or week subscription or however it works, they do certain things for you. It might be that they're willing to do things that you tell them to do or watch on a certain schedule. There's an
interaction
there.
Yeah,
you get to know your OnlyFans girl or couple or guy or whatever it is. Yeah.
Kind of like, this is so dumb, but it's all I have to compare it to. There's a influencer on YouTube I watch sometimes. She's a makeup artist and she talks about makeup and she does product reviews and gives suggestions and she does her makeup all the time. And I'm just into that kind of thing. So I watch it. And one time she goes YouTube live and I was on YouTube and she happened to be YouTube live and I see all these comments and I'm like, I wonder if this is real. So I like asked a question about, I don't know, concealer or something. And she reads my question and answered it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. So it's like that.
Yes. Fan reaction.
Porn.
Yeah. And BJ says that the OnlyFans news might not be accurate. So I am going to look that up. I saw a bunch of.
I heard that too.
I heard a bunch of people with commentary on it. They were making jokes about how some of these girls will then start working in fast food again, kind of thing. And I figured, well, anyway, we'll look into it, find out if they are changing policies. I know they're doing age restriction requirements, and a lot of the people who are frequenting this stuff, they don't really push that a 13-year-old isn't going to OnlyFans, grabbing dad's credit card and, watching stuff. So maybe that's what it was, that the part of their demographic or part of their usership is going to, but we'll find out.
If someone came to you and said, Joe, we have this YouTube channel. It's like this whole demographic. It's getting really popular. People who like to watch people work on computers and do tech things. We'll give you like 100,000 a year to just make some videos. Let us watch you work on stuff. Would you do it?
I don't see why not.
So then they said after a while, hey, you're doing great. We're going to keep everything as is, but you're going to lose this shirt. just take the shirt off. It's going to be topless Tex. Would you do it?
Probably not.
What if they're like, okay, instead of 100,000, we'll give you $1 million?
No.
Really?
Probably not going to do it.
You're like, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
I see where this is going.
Yeah, I have these little flags in my brain for risk, and the first one didn't make that flag go up at all. The second one made the flag bounce.
Yeah, you're like, that sounds
yeah,
dirty.
This path is definitely taking in a different consumer base, and I don't think I want to surround myself with those consumers. So,
okay,
people were eyeballing my abilities in the tech world. Like, I'll take those people because we can talk. Like, that's my wheelhouse. But you start people saying not really worried about the graphics card and more worried about my pec flex.
Yeah.
Now we got a different. I don't have nothing to say.
I had a guy one time. This was years ago, and I don't want to give too much information, but he was selling a product, and I don't even remember how I met him. It was through some local networking stuff, and he's like, "Hey, I'm selling this product online. I need someone to sort of model it for me. Do you want to do anything like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it sounds fun. Sure." And, I'll give you whatever it was. It wasn't a lot of money, but he's like, "We'll just go. I'll take some pictures of you wearing it, and it's going to be on my website, and I'll pay you. And if anyone buys it because they saw you in the ad, maybe I'll give you a little something." And I was like, "Sure, sounds good." Then it turned into, "Hey, do you want to maybe rep this brand and sort of be my person for this product?" And I was like, "Oh, interesting. Could be more work. And, it's not a product I think is bad. And it's, something you wear. And yeah, I could do that." And he's like, "Great. And then maybe we're going to go out to like different venues and stuff." And he's like, "But here's my thought. Like, I'm thinking like maybe we have you in like a bikini showing it off." And I was like, "Now it's weird. Now it's awkward." And I just said, like, I don't think I'm going to be good selling anything in a bikini. Like, I've had 2 kids. I'm older. I don't know if you know what you're asking, number one. "Oh, no. It's going to be great and that'll be fine." And I'm like, you're not even somebody that wants to see the goods first. You're just automatically like, "Hey, let's get you in a bikini and put you in front of." And I was just like, I'm out.
Now, what if you said $1 million?
I'd consider it.
Okay.
If it's a bathing suit.
Thank you for being honest.
If it's a bathing suit.
Thank you for being honest.
Because I'm like, I'm in a bathing suit every summer. I will have it on regardless in the summer on the beach.
Why
give me $1 million?
Why the snap? One is feeling a little weird,
one
and
felt
one
dirty.
is like,
one feels dirty.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't say automatically yes.
Okay.
I said I'd consider it. It would depend on a few things, but it's not an automatic yes because it feels dirty.
But you'd be willing to do dirty things for $1 million?
Probably not.
Wait, hold on.
No.
Hold on.
What do you consider dirty?
I just reframed it.
Yeah.
With different words, and you said no. Okay, so let's go back.
Dirty.
No, we'll go back. We'll redissect this.
First of all, Jeff says, "I am an only Youngstown studio fan."
Yeah, there you go, Jeff.
Yeah.
Nice wholesome content where we F-bomb every other word.
And give us money. Give us money.
So let's go back to this because I want to hit the contradiction.
I know.
I'm taking great pleasure in this. I really am. Okay, so a guy asking you to rep a brand and wear a bikini feels dirty.
Yeah.
And a guy asking you to rep a brand in a bikini and paying you $1 million, still dirty.
Yeah.
It's
still. Well.
Hold on, pause. So, can I give you $1 million to be dirty?
Listen.
Okay, just answer the question. Does your dirtiness, is it connected with $1 million? Yes or no? Not a will listen.
Here's
yes
the
or
thing.
No.
I think
these
he
are a lot
felt
of words.
like a creeper. It felt like an inauthentic, ingenuine
hold on. This is
proposal.
But
I have limited time.
Kelin, I have limited time.
Feel a little more genuine.
Reclaiming my time. This is a yes or no question. Would you value your dirtiness at $1 million? Yes or no?
Listen, it's his credit and how credible
Speaker, I'm reclaiming my time. I only have limited time. It's a yes or no question.
It felt he felt like a dirty man.
But he was less dirty when he
But
offered
if
you $1
he's
million.
like, hey, I'm a legit company that makes millions.
Okay, hold on.
Feels
Hold
less
on.
dirty.
Hold on.
It just
So,
does.
dirty
it's more
man.
reputable.
So, would you do business with a dirty man for $1 million?
I knew he was a dirty man.
Well, you just said a guy that wants you to wear a bikini is a
No.
dirty man, no matter if he's doing it for 0 or $1 million.
No, here's the thing. Being in a bikini for $1 million, that decision centers around who's putting it on. For example, dirty man off the street is like, I'm a dirty old man, but I have $1 million and I'll give it to you to do this. Gross. But reputable modeling agency, hey, be in my, I'm going to say American Eagle because that's been in the news, ad and be kind of nude. We'll pay you millions of dollars. That's a credible, reputable business. I'm going to feel differently about it.
No, we're going to go back to the example because we did not change the reputation of the person. And I still got you to say,
that's why I felt dirty.
But you were willing,
part of it.
But you were willing to go dirty or a little dirty for $1 million, which
Listen,
the noun did not change.
I considered it.
But I appreciate this conversation couldn't happen without that.
Yes, immediate, like you said, little bump of a red flag.
But you would do it.
It matters when if someone's like, "Well, I'll pay you $1 million," and I go, I'm in a bikini every summer anyway.
See that I get how that went out. I just wanted to make sure I highlighted what currency, literally and figuratively, right, gets inspiration in this conversation. I'll take, and I probably should have started with maybe 100,000 to see if where your threshold was when you get tolerant of dirty things. Like maybe 100,000 is all I needed to pay to get you to put a bikini on and deal with dirty boy. I don't know. 100,000 would I have done it for you?
Again, if it's a reputable business, that weighs heavily.
How much was he offering you for the bikini version?
I don't remember. I don't know. We never got that far.
Okay. So
I instantly was like, I really feel like this is going
so
downhill.
All he really had to do was counter to a figure that was above your dirty girl threshold.
I think he, at that point, had already made me feel uncomfortable enough that I was like, this isn't something that I want to get involved with.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So, yeah, a lot would have to go into it other than just the money.
Okay.
It has to be the situation, the company, how it's going to be done. Then, of course, the money is there, too. But if it's just creeper off the street, I'm going to give you money. No, I'm not insane.
This is a perfect place to end the show. I hope we clip this one harder than we've ever clipped any other before.
That's what she said.
All right. Have fun, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow